Well, I wonder, have you made any long journeys this Christmas time? Perhaps you've been somewhere to visit family or friends. Or maybe you're here with us this morning and you've made the long journey to visit people here in Nottingham. Well, if that's you, then a special welcome to you. In our reading that we've just had from Matthew chapter 2, we've just met some people who also made a very long journey because they were searching for a very special person. These magi had been looking closely at the night sky. They're traditionally referred to as wise men. They were kind of early philosophers, scientists, intelligent people who, amongst other things, made a very close study of the night sky and the stars. And the Magi, they had seen some kind of astronomical event that had occurred from which they inferred that a new king had been born. And so they set out from their homes. Likely it was hundreds of miles away in Babylon. And they set out on the long and arduous journey to Judea to pay homage to this new king that had been born. And the Magi, they headed to the capital city, to Jerusalem, where King Herod lived. And the Magi made their inquiries about the birth of this new king. The capital, it was the obvious place to go to conclude their search. Because the capital is the kind of place where people look for inspiring leaders. The movers, the shakers, the celebrities, the influencers are all in that kind of place. That's where the power, that's where the might is, surely, in the capital city, Jerusalem. And the Magi must have expected it to have been the talk of the town, a city having celebrated a royal birth. What a morale booster for everyone. And so they ask, verse 2, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose, and we have come to worship him." Well, news of a royal birth certainly did soon become the talk of the town. But not for the reasons that the Magi would perhaps have expected. Talk of a new king did not bring joy and gladness, but amongst the ruling elite, at least, talk of a new king brought suspicion. Verse 3. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. King Herod, he was loyal to the Roman Empire, and he was quite prepared to rule his subjects ruthlessly. Rebellions, they were put down with the maximum of force. Herod was obsessed with defending his throne, and he was determined to remain seated upon it. And here in this chapter, we meet this strongman leader, or someone who thought he was a strongman leader. After many years of his reign, he was a powerful man, and yet one who was deeply suspicious of any rivals to his throne. And if we think about it, we can begin to understand why King Herod might be disturbed about all this talk of a new king being born. Because a new king means that things are going to change. A new king means that life could be turned upside down. A new king means radical transformation. And a new king means that the old king is on his way out. And so begins the plotting of this old king. In verses 3 to 6, we read of how Herod calls together the religious experts to find out where the Messiah was expected to be born. And they told him what had been written in the Jewish scriptures by the prophets of old. Verse 6, "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my my people, Israel. And if we looked closely at this leader who was promised, we would see a ruler who would rule not with an iron fist, but with a shepherd's arm. A king who would know his people, who would lead his people, who would teach his people, who would protect his people. A good shepherd. Isn't this the kind of leader that we all want? A king who would stand in stark contrast to King Herod. No wonder Herod was disturbed. You know, there's a sense in which King Herod and the Magi, they both realized who Jesus is. They both realized that Jesus is a king. But their responses to that were very different. Herod was disturbed and was suspicious when he was confronted by the reign of King Jesus. It was a response that would lead him to horrific lengths as he tried to cling on to his own power. If we are suspicious of King Jesus, he confronts us. He confronts us. None of us are likely to go to the very extremes that Herod did. But we too can be suspicious of Jesus' kingship as he wants to establish his throne in our hearts, in our lives, upon our priorities and our values. But we will find that if we are truly searching for King Jesus, then we will find that the reign of King Jesus not only confronts us, the reign of King Jesus comforts us. The reign of King Jesus comforts us. In verse 11, we're told how the Magi open up their treasures and present the infant Jesus with gifts. Gifts of gold, incense, and myrrh. In each of these gifts has a very deep significance. We'll come back to incense and myrrh a little bit later. But for now, gold. Gold is a gift fit for a king. The gift of gold points to who Jesus is, a king. And also that the kingship of King Jesus is a gift to us. You know, it is a real gift to know that we are not the king of our lives. Friends, it is good news to know that we are not on the throne of our lives. There is a better king than us. There is a better king to sit on the throne of our lives. A worthy king. A good shepherd. A king who we, like the Magi, can come and worship. During a nativity production in Norwich, unfortunately, one of the wise men forgot his lines. "We bring you gold," the first wise man declared. "We bring you myrrh," said the second. And then there was a long pause. And finally, the young actor went for "Frank sends his love." Well, we've seen that gold was fit for a king, a gift fit for a king. And the other two things also tell us something about who Jesus is, why he came, and God's gifts to us. Incense, or frankincense, it evokes imagery of a place where God comes to meet with his people. A place where the relationship between God and humanity is restored. Friends, the true story of Christmas is that God restores our relationship with him, not at a place, but in a person. The person of Jesus Christ, Emmanuel, God with us. The one sent to be born into our world. The one who is fully God became fully human to restore human beings to a relationship with God our Creator. Incense. And how all that is made possible is symbolized by the third gift that is brought by the Magi, the gift of myrrh. Now, myrrh would never top the Christmas best-selling gift list because myrrh speaks of death. It was used to embalm the bodies of the dead. And so myrrh seems a thoroughly inappropriate gift. And yet it was to be a deeply significant gift for the child Jesus, because Jesus was the one who was born to die. His death would make a way. The Christmas story points us forward to the true story of Easter, where Jesus, through his life, his death, his resurrection, makes it possible for our relationship with God to be restored. Where Jesus proves that he is the one true King over all the world for all eternity. I saw one advert a couple of weeks ago for an online retailer that had the line, "Gifts that get you." Gifts that get you. And that really struck me. I didn't buy any presents from it, but the line really struck me. Gifts that get you. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh are gifts that get Jesus. Gold, a king is born today, as the lyrics of a contemporary carol put it. Incense, God is with us. Myrrh, his death will make a way. Those gifts are gifts that get Jesus. And so too, Jesus is the gift that gets us. The gift that gets our greatest need and our deepest longings. Let me ask, have you received the gift that Jesus is? Have you received the gift that Jesus is? The gift that gets you. As John puts it, yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. What a gift that is, to know who you are, why you're here. You're a child of God. That's the gift that Jesus gives us. Are you suspicious of King Jesus today? Or are you searching for him, like the Magi? Will his kingship only confront you? Or will the kingship of Jesus also comfort you? Will we come in worship today? And will we know that Jesus is the gift that gets us? And will we know the treasure of our place as the children of the King, the greatest gift ever? If we've received that gift, if we know Jesus as our King, then we too, we can come and worship, and we can know the joy of the Magi. Listen to how one of the translation puts this. Verse 10, when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. They rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. Double portion of joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. You too can rejoice exceedingly with great joy if you have searched for Jesus, and in finding him, you actually realize that he has come and found you and given himself as the greatest gift you could ever receive.